Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No. And boy, at 20, I was full blown into being a two in a very invasive, unhealthy, manipulative way with people. And of course, I didn't know that. I was unconscious of it. I always think about this particular leader years ago that I really cared for, and one day told her that, hey, I really care about you deeply. Never saw her again. And as I reflected on that, what I realized was that was way too much intensity and way too much emotion for somebody that didn't know me well enough to trust that. As I reflected on that, even as a young person, I realized I got to have some boundary around when it's helpful. And the manipulative part of it too, which is so painful to face, is that we give in order to get. And I give in order to get that sense that I matter to you as a person. I'm making a difference to you. And I needed that so badly growing up that I would create situations. As one of my adult children, he said to me one day, which, God, this was one of those painful moments. He goes, "You will create a problem just so you can fix it."
Welcome to the Story Enneagram podcast. I'm Jim Gum, and I'm an Enneagram trainer and an executive and life coach living in Kansas City. Today, we're going to hear from some social twos as part of this season's series on the social subtypes. The Enneagram social two is called ambition. They enjoy being in the spotlight and thrive in highly visible roles. The social two is confident in what they're offering to the world. Pride is the passion of the Enneagram Type 2, and in this social subtype, it presents as competence with a desire to be admired. The social 2 impresses and fosters the image that they have it together. As you heard from John in the introduction, social 2s hope that you will seek them out for their help and guidance that can mask a desire for superiority. What does it truly mean to be helpful, especially for a 2? I realize that each of my guests today does work as a therapist. They've done some honest self-reflection, and their descriptions of how they experience their two-ness is full of honesty and humility. I think you'll enjoy these stories from social twos to understand how their best intentions may belie what they're really seeking and needing. Twos have a built-in radar that homes in on where help may be needed. They're proactive in helping, sensing what is needed, and providing it. Here's how Ren described what it's like for her as a leader.
Accepting that if you're leading people, you don't have all of the information. Because sometimes we're pretty good at guessing 90% of it. Like, I walk in a room, I feel it. I host a gathering. I know how to make the connections. I know how to get people talking or doing things. Like, I know how to set things. I know when people start to get cold or hot. And when you're leading, there are way too many things to pay attention to, and people's relationship with you is different. It has to be in a leadership capacity. And so you don't get access to as much information. And so getting to a space where I can be grounded enough to stay curious, be like, oh, of course I didn't know that. And not, oh my goodness, I'm such an idiot. I'm failing because I didn't know. Oh, and it's so unrealistic. But the funny thing is I didn't realize it was an expectation I had of myself and an expectation I had of other people. I walk in a room and I notice, and I can't help but notice. It's the squeaky wheel to me. And then I can talk with other people who are skilled and intentional and very loving human beings. And they're like, what squeak? I'm like, you didn't hear that? Well, that makes sense why you didn't fix it. I didn't know I expected you to, but turns out I expected you to, and I expected me to.
And here's John again.
Well, I love helping. I had said all my life, hey, is there anything I can do to be helpful to you? I said that before I was conscious of what I was saying. And I do love helping people. I love caring. I love nurturing. The difficulty is I had no boundary around it because I had no understanding of it. And as a child, I learned to help. And you see, I just use the word help all the time. It's part of my vocabulary. A child doesn't learn how to put a boundary around that. So I go into ministry and therapy, which is a sea of unending need that I can respond to.
Eric shares a bit about how he was shaped by his parents.
When I think about it, I think about all the achieving. Social 2s show up like 3s. The motive is different, right? The only child of 2 lawyers. So I internalized young, being good and showing up and being acceptable and all of that stuff just had this bar I couldn't reach. And both of my parents are incredibly intelligent people. So I fabricated this solution, which was achieve everywhere, climb everywhere in a sense, but all of the motive is for that recognition. So I think the thing that's really telling about my being a social 2 is while getting a seminary degree, I've been working in corporate America in data analytics. Kept doing that while getting a master's degree in marriage and family therapy and interning and doing licensure hours. And now I practice and coach while having a full-time job still as a data analyst. And I wonder why I'm tired.
You can understand why it's called ambition. And here's John again, describing how he understands his subtype.
To this day, it's painful to say, because it's so true, that they've cultivated this image of being competent and, bright and oh my gosh, I've spent a lifetime doing that because I grew up with a dad who was super bright. Everybody in the family valued academics. My dad was he was number one in every class he was ever in and in charge of virtually everything he ever did. And so I learned, hey, this is what men do, is they become bright, competent people that have all the answers for everybody else.
The best thing about being a 2 is their capacity to be a help. The hardest thing about being a 2 is discerning their motivation for helping others. Listen to how Eric describes this dilemma.
Boy, my brain goes a couple places. I think the first is he will use just enough authenticity and vulnerability to gain access. If we have any awareness of that, it's really hard for me to start sharing because I start wondering, what am I after here, right? Is this really like authentic? Is it manipulative? So that can cause me to freeze. If the question is pointed enough, I'd have to be honest about the illusion I cast. And it's really hard to say to somebody, yeah, my protective strategy is manipulating other people to give me the emotions I need and the support I need and the love I need. So do you want to be friends, right? Like, there's nowhere to go with that. So it's hard, I think, because we feel shame. My type is also about to manipulate you, so you'll be my friend. So that's kind of brutal. It's, as we're integrating, it's how do I walk this line of actually truly doing altruism for the sake of someone else and allowing my feeling of like, if I let this go, my needs are going to go unmet. I'm going to be alone. I'm going to not be seen. Like letting that go is hard too, like trust. So it's so complicated to sit down and share. Once we have any awareness, there's just a mess that can go on in our head.
The heart-centered types put a high value on how they're being received. For the 2, they would like to be seen as helpful.
I want to show up as a person who doesn't have needs and who has a lot to offer because I want you to see that I am deeply valuable. And I am deeply worried that I'm actually not valuable, that I don't have space here, that I don't bring enough to the table. And being humbled by those moments when I'm like, ooh, actually, like I've been trying to do this on my own and it feels like I'm running my head into a wall to prove I am worthy, I am enough. And it comes out. And I think early on, this was really frustrating for me, having some people in my life kind of reflect that it seemed like I thought I was better than others. And I was like, I don't think that at all. Like I'm deeply insecure. Like I think other people have all of these other things, but I wasn't comfortable being like, oh yeah, I have needs too. Or, oh, I'm struggling with that as well.
And here John shares a similar sentiment.
As a 2, I'm pretty intuitive about people and relationships. And even as a small child, I would get people to talk about stuff that they had no business talking about. But I do have a sense of what's going on inside of people, sometimes before they do. And I can be very prideful about, I really know better for you than you do. And which is that's just a false thing. Nobody knows better than somebody else what is best for them. I can have some hunches and I can check that out, but I have to keep that in check all the time and realize my limited perspective. And the other thing, obviously, is we all know about 2s is that they don't know how to take care of themselves. So I'm the great need meter giver of the world. And so I don't put a check on boundaries that I need around my own well-being.
Ren describes the evolution of her relationship with a close friend.
I have a best friend, fortunately been through a lot of growth together and been very close for about 15 years. We lived an hour apart and I would make the drive to her, or I would always like, oh, okay, I can drive 45 minutes so that she only has to drive 15. I would do that a lot and I would just keep offering. And then I would start to get frustrated. Like, why isn't she insisting that she drives to me? Like, why doesn't she care as much about me as I care about her? Does she even care about me? Not fun to remember, but I let it build up. I was like spending more time driving to her, or I was spending more time like focused on what she was struggling with than sharing where I was struggling, even though I came ready to talk about me. I came to talk through my stuff. I let and probably encouraged, right, that I would do more and I would care more. And then I would just get pissed. If she was late, if she asked me to come out to her anyway, if the conversation ended up being about her, I would go from, I am your best friend, I care about you so much, to, why don't you love me? She's like, where is this coming from? I had no idea that you had needs that were coming up. I thought you liked driving. I could have driven.
Enneagram 2s are an other referencing type. They build a sense of identity in their relationship with another. It's where they start. Because of their external focus, it can be hard for a 2 to pay attention to their own needs. Here's how John describes it.
Yeah, because they haven't paid enough attention to what they really want. This happened this was like a year ago. I was doing some work on evaluating the previous year, whatever, and I wrote down things I really like to do. I made a column that I thought would be really fun for me to kind of pay attention to. And that column just stayed empty all the time. I just couldn't quite get back to actually putting something down that I really like to do. The 2 has such an external focus that they don't look internally. It's so deep, this repression of my own needs, that I have to pay attention to other signals that tell me things are out of whack. Do you know that experience of you're going to your office, but today you're turning left at a particular light to go get your shirts, and I walk out the door, yes, Carrie, I'll pick up the shirts, and I suddenly find myself at the office. And literally in 30 seconds, I lost focus on what I was going to do. I'm not paying enough attention to some heavy things that are going on inside of me. Those signals are actually helpful because I can intuit about you, but I'm not so good at intuiting about me.
The passion of pride can be hard to see when it is wrapped in doing things on others' behalf. Here's how Eric describes how pride shows up for him.
I know my experience is this enormous sense of arrogance, this better than everyone else. I get on the road and I'm the only one who knows how to drive. And I've actually jokingly in a message once said, I will be giving lessons in the parking lot after. It was talking about pride. What does that look like? And it's always this assessing and judging in the background, right? I'm assessing how finding the flaws in another, elevating myself so I feel better about me. So it's like the stepping on another person in order to elevate myself to a place where I feel good or better or grounded or seen or whatever the need is.
And here's John again.
We married on the one up, one down model in marriage, which is, again, perfect for a two. I'm one up, I'm together, I'm the person everybody loves. I'm the wise guru that everybody talks to, and Carrie's screwed up. So my marriage began to struggle. We went to therapy. And through that process, I remember the day where the therapist exposed my superiority, my one up, one down thing. And it literally felt like somebody had driven a telephone pole through my chest. It was so accurate and painful. And that began the journey of me realizing I don't know how to do this marriage thing any better than Carrie. I don't know how to do intimacy any better than anybody else. And that was a huge turning point.
Eric references the author David Benner, who wrote that our Enneagram type creates an illusion about our personality.
Benner uses the word illusion a lot as well. And I love it because we create this illusion, but packed away in this little space of the pride at the back of the head of the two, they cast this giant illusion in which they've even fooled themselves. I'm wonderful, loving, altruistic, safe, helpful, kind. It's impossible that somebody couldn't love me or see me or accept me. And I am the epitome of good, right? This total illusion, which at the bottom we completely don't believe, but we don't want to see that, know that. And until we start that separation process, we don't even feel it. And so that was the thing for me. It tore the illusion away, and it felt like all of the good that you do is now tainted, like with manipulation and almost in a sense, evil, selfishness, the terrible word, right? And I was far enough along and had like enough Benner and enough other things under my feet that I could ground in it. I knew there was an and in it, but it was really difficult to hold. I knew I had to stay with it, but it was hard at first.
I find that twos have the hardest time identifying how the passion of pride shows up in their life. The Enneagram is a powerful truth teller that peels away your outside and identifies what's really happening on the inside. Parsing out good and useful intentions to help others from the helping that comes from our need to feel important or connected is the work of the two's transformation. It involves giving up the immediate habit of rushing in to help and taking time to reassess, to look over the motives and ask themselves if they're hoping for something in return. Here's how Ren describes her journey.
I really enjoyed Brené's big video on vulnerability when it came out. It made sense of things for me. I don't know that I necessarily felt as clobbered by it, but I felt maybe a little bit of permission, which has been really big for me and something I've been building on for a while. Like I have permission to not have a solution. When I notice a need, I have permission to show up and just be with people, and it is more loving to them. I have permission to sit with people being uncomfortable and not try to force them into comfort, which is a little bit of that gut check. Sometimes I want to make you comfortable so I can be comfortable, but we actually both just need to sit in this moment where it doesn't feel good.
Here's John again.
The idea of holy freedom has been really big for me because I am free to give when it really is the right thing and have some sense that this is what I'm supposed to do. And I'm free to not give when it's not the right thing. And that has been absolutely life-giving. I do not have to meet everybody's need. The biblical story that's been so significant in reinforcing that is Jesus at the pool of Bethesda. Jesus walked into that place filled with sick people, and he dealt with one of them. And so there's a whole bunch of folks there that he did not deal with. Now, why he did that and all that kind of stuff, that's above my pay grade. What I do know is he dealt with one and did not at least appear to deal with anybody else. And that gives me incredible freedom.
That's it for this episode of the Story Enneagram podcast. Thanks for listening. If you or someone you know is a 2 who struggles with their boundaries in friendship, you've come to the right place. Wouldn't it be great to give with absolutely no strings attached? Visit my website at storyenneagram.com. Set up a free inquiry call to explore coaching for executives, individuals, or couples. We can also talk about bringing the Enneagram to your team at your workplace. I'm sure we can tailor something that will make an impact. Please subscribe to the Story Enneagram podcast. Share it with your friends and family. And if you're really feeling it, leave a rating in Apple Podcasts. I'd appreciate it. Our music is by Daniel Gum. You can hear his music on Spotify or wherever you get your music. And yes, we do have the same last name. Story Enneagram, where learning your type is just the beginning of a whole new story.